thinking away down the track for the final time before she does it for real. Konomi Asuza of Japan. Suzuri Ogawa behind her.
Hans Wimmer, the former German coach and sled builder, took over the Japanese program very successfully last year. Another Japanese sled coming up, had a 7th place finish at the World Championships, which was pretty amazing. Oshigira, she comes up the 22nd sled down the track. So she's got another hour, 45 minutes.
Well, Konomi's made the cut in both races so far. Let's see if third is the charm. She was 18th and 20th, Lake Placid and Park City. Doesn't have the strongest start.
Well, she sits way up, too, really way up high in the sled. Surprised that Hans Wimmer, there's a lot of things that he does well in the sport. And he pays attention to all details, especially aerodynamics. But boy, she's got some clean, quiet drive lines here in the top part of the track.
Started the same time as the Brazilian sled that we've just seen. So currently lying in second spot. That's very late in 6.
That's the closest we've seen in the 2-man or the women's competition to somebody tipping over at the exit of 6.
Much calmer in 9. Has she got it back under control? Little late in 10. Oh, and high and late in 11 as well.
Real late here.
Oh, in trouble. 50-50. She gets away with it, but actually gets out of 14, which is where Bruce Tasker crashed. Oh boy, sigh of relief all round at the top of the track and at the bottom. She comes across the line in 3rd spot, but that was as close as you want to get, John.
Coaches are out of breath, just like we were. I mean, when she hit out of 11, pushed her into the middle of 12, then she hit before 13, pushed her way in the middle of the 50-50 Holcomb curve, and I don't know how she got out of there.
The girls are shrieking with delight and high-fiving.
It's a good thing the brakeman wasn't watching, because she could feel it. Now this is up top, exit 6 to 7, and then look how high on the roof there, and then she hits in the middle part of the curve. Now she comes over, you can see the
Holcomb logo in 50-50.
Now watch her hit and come in the middle part of the curve, and now this is when you think it's over. No way she could survive.
The irony there is that second hit actually straightened her up. She was in the middle of the track rather than to driver's left, but she got away with that by the skin of her teeth. Next up is Mariama Yamanka for Germany. Sarah Knoll behind her as we continue to swap in and out brake women in the German women's camp to keep them all healthy. Lisette Turner back from injury this season. Alina Nolter is warming up as well for the European season.
Limited in this race last year, but I see improvement coming out of this young German driver every time she comes down the track. She gives up time at the start. I mean, it's better start here, but gives up time to the top athletes. Humphries, ooh, look at that. There's a major mistake. I must have jinxed her. 4th last year in Pyeongchang at the pre-Olympic test, which was very impressive.
One of her first ever World Cup races was here, wasn't it? Season over a couple of years ago was her debut, and one trip off the
time ever in Europe, or out of Europe, excuse me.
Yeah, they took one trip off the bottom start and then straight off the top, same as the Japanese, the Brazilians did here this weekend.
Boy, that mistake up a curve 1 to 2. 28 hundredths up. She should be about 60 hundredths up if it wasn't for that mistake. Ahead of the remains, a lot of ice in that first pressure of Thunderbird. Pretty straight in that uphill section. There's 86. That is what you expect. She should be over a second ahead. I said 80 hundredths. Now I say that mistake she made up there should be the first one to beat herself up. But this is a coming driver for the Germans.
Yeah. Very inexperienced relatively on this track compared to when we get back to Europe, but 5th and 6th in the opening 2 races. She get a top 6 here, she'll be very
curve
happy.
1. Oh, look at the back end. This is the worst line we've seen in the men's race of 47 sleds and the women's race to date. We probably won't see anybody else that bad out of curve 1. And then down here, flopped out of that curve, and now look at her going to 6-7. That's not perfect there either.
First ever World Cup race for Sarah Knoll in the women's bobsleigh. She did compete with pushing Anja Schneider in the World Championships in the team competition a couple of years ago. Next up is Christine Debryn with her brakewoman Kristen Budnowski behind her. We had a 1-2 for Canada in the men's competition. It's not beyond the bounds of possibility. It could happen here as well. 5:24 long late load from the driver, but she got in and avoided the wall.
Pretty clean, quiet exit of 1, 2, and 3 so far. Christine skid there though. And now she's going to go up and down. She could flop off of here, tap there. So she's made some mistakes up here. As soon as I said she was doing well.
You're in form, aren't you? You're cursing everybody. Yeah.
You see the head snap. That's a late transition. You know, we call it the quiet transition's the way to go. And this is down late there. Smooth and 50-50.
Currently second spot on the split times.
Quarter second back.
Yeah, drifting away.
Wow. On her home track, 3,400s back. Coaches don't like that. With Jamaica's issues up top, I'm shocked that she's 3,400s ahead of Christina Debryn at the bottom.
Christine didn't have the tidiest run, did she?
No.
Brave woman Kristen Britnowski, former long jumper shot putter. She's an R&D engineer as well. Another one too clever to be doing this.
Comes back down, goes back up on the outlet, and watch the transition. The back end of the sled hits. Now she hits it before she gets on the curve, pushes her away. Now watch how late this is. Look at the heads. You know, that's late. That's not a quiet transition. Then she hits before the take on, goes into the middle. Late all the way down the track.
Yeah, timing just a little bit off. It was definitely not as quick as this in training. Race day ice is always hard and fast here in Whistler. Top 5, Mariama Yamanka leads Christine Debryn and Andrea Grecu. 5 sleds down in Whistler, opening round of competition, race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Next up, 6th of our 23 starters, Belgium's Elfie Willemsen and Sarah Ertz.
Elfie had a tough day yesterday, crash. He had problems here last year, crashed. I mean, this is a very accomplished driver who's, I think, got a few issues with this track.
Well, nobody takes this track lightly. Everybody, there's always a bit of a quiet changing room before training, before the races. A sharp intake of breath when anybody has a moment.
She's got the skills as good as anybody in the field. But some kind of a psychological block on this track, because she should not be crashing with her talent.
A little late out of 6 and 7. She's got it all under control. Or has she? Out the shiver into 12 and 13. The crossover's good, neat and tidy.
Should have good speed. It's red numbers, though.
Only 100 behind, now 500s behind.
Could still find it if she's clean.
Oh, great run to the line. 800s back. That's right in the mix.
Well, she had a good run, and she lost by 900s at the start. Only 8 at the bottom. But Jamaica and that German sled was on the bottom, flying.
Speeds at the bottom for Yamanka, over 91 miles an hour, only 89.5 for the Belgians.
There's nobody down there to help him. Watch the transition. Little rattling, head left or right, and then can't say, well, there's a lot of steering there. That's a 9. That's down in the wedge or the link section of the track. Oh, Sarah's tall.
Yes, she is. So they lie in second place. Next up is the second of our Canadian sleds. This is Alicia Rissling, Cynthia Appia. Cynthia Appia, winner on this track with Kaillie Humphries last year.
Well, this was the big surprise last year at the pre-Olympic test in Pyeongchang. Alicia Rissling sort of made a statement, finishing 3rd place, ahead of her 2-time Olympic champion Kaillie Humphries.
Started the season well, 4th and 5th in Whistler and Lake Placid last year. This year, 2 7th places.
Boy, she's only a couple hundreds up on Jamaica.
Don't forget where the Canadians made the speed in the men's race was below 50-50. The fastest part of the track was where they really used their knowledge.
Boy, she's only 100 up. She's holding it, but Jamaica had all those problems on the top of the track and then afterburners on the bottom.
Jamaica.
Now it's even. So these pretty equal lines, but Jamaica was flying on the bottom. Let's see if Riesling can catch it.
Sled slower than the German, and she goes behind by 7. It'll be about double that at the line. Oh, big skid.
That mistake on the bottom. TV, you could see here it's pretty steep coming up this hill. But from the finish curve to the finish line, about 100 meters, it's pretty steep uphill. And you're dealing with a gravity sport. You can't turn the sled sideways. That was worth a 10th.
Yeah. Brakewoman barely needed to brake after that because you scrub off so much speed.
Here it is. This is down on the bottom. The Thunderbird, she gets up high here, climbs. That's too high. First pressure point down, back up on the outlet, and this is going to cause her skidding. Little tap here. Now watch the skid. You see the finish line right there, and bang. That's a lot of time, and she knows it more than anybody.
Not the tidiest run down here for Alicia Riesling. Mariama Yamanka leads from Alpha Willemsen, and Alicia Riesling in third ahead of teammate Christine Debryn. Here's the third of our Canadian sleds. Double Olympic champion Kaillie Humphries. In 7 races on this track, she's been beaten twice. Once before the games, once after. And before the games, she took the silver medal, went on to take the Olympic gold. She's never been off the podium here. She's won 5 races with 5 different brakewomen. Melissa Lotholtz won with her 2 years ago.
She seems to be becoming very comfortable with Melissa Lotholtz on the sled. Now, maybe not getting the starts the Americans get. Pretty close, 5'11". But, you know, there's more than the start. You have to ride the sled. You have to feel yourself down the sled. And I think Melissa Lotholtz is now starting to now really feel herself in the back of the sled, knows where she is on the track.
And that start 200s off the all-time start record.
So maybe they're getting comfortable as a twosome too.
Well, now then. So we're 200s off the start record. If Kaillie has a good run, what about the track record? 52.8. I don't think it's fast enough today for that.
52.66 is the...
Sorry, 6.6, not 8.6, yeah.
So we're not close to that. She's got a rocket down here, almost a full second better than the time posted.
82 miles an hour. That's the fastest we've seen so far in a third speed trap at the bottom. 92 miles an hour across the line. 53.15. So we are a long way from a track record. The start record might be in danger. We've still got all 3 US sleds to go, and they don't hang around at the beginning of the race.
I'm still impressed with Jamanka. With all those problems from curve 1 to 2, she would be really close to Kaillie Humphries here. Watch how quiet the steering is here. Look at her. You know, barely the head slaps left or right. Now this little tap. She hangs the left side, gets over in the take on where she wants to get on the curve. As good as it gets coming down the track, and that seems like it's on every track.
So our Olympic champion leads our European champion. Next up, oh hey, it's our world champion, Alana Myers-Taylor, starting with Kerry Jones on the back of the sled. 3 Joneses in the US lineup. She won with all of them last year as she rather greedily hogged a lot of the gold medals.
5'1", little pocket rocket from Baylor University,
5'1".
Texas.
There's a song in there, isn't there? Fans of South Pacific.
And Alana Myers you've seen the profile about her and her father, Eddie Myers. She's some athlete here in the driving this sled. So, start record, 5:09.
Winner on this track in 2008-9.
There it is.
Oh, 5:06.
Skid, though, just eliminated that advantage she had over Humphries, who dropped out of that slingshot 6-story drop perfectly. Now, Alana's only 6 ahead. She should have been 9 or 10, but now she's late here, too. Oh, way up high. Watch out. You can see she made the mistake and it flopped out of the curve. Now it's even.
Kaillie was already driving when Alana won here, pushing Shauna Roebuck in the pre-Olympic race.
And then she went on to win a bronze medal
with Erin Pack. Yeah.
Ooh, watch out.
Whoa, that's late.
You could hear the sound she hit before the 50-50 Holcomb curve. Now she's way back.
She's never had a medal on this track as a driver, and that 53.52 leaves her in second place is a shot.
Track record at the start, it's unbelievable. the athletes that the U.S. program's got in the back seat and the front seat.
And they don't have just one, they just keep racking them up.
They can interchange them all. But boy, there were some serious driving errors right out of the gate. Curve 1 to 2. 6, she almost tipped it over. So, you know, look at the difference. I mean, only a 10th in that first 30 meters, but right here, this didn't help. Taps before 50-50. Watch the articulation of the sled, the split. I mean, she had it maxed out there.
Didn't panic, didn't haul it off. She felt it was okay.
Lost all her time up though in 6 and 7.
Yeah. So Lana Myers-Taylor lies second. It's Olympic champion, world champion, European champion, your top 3. Next up is Anna Kohler of Germany, World Cup rookie this season, so first time in North America. And she's got Franziska Fritz-Glam behind her. Franziska Fritz as was. So no previous experience on this track for Anna Kohler. She started again on the lower start for the first trip down, then up to the top. 5.29 getaway.
Took a lot of curve 1. The big tap at the exit.
So 6 trips in training in wet and snowy conditions are her grounding for a hard, fast track here.
Medium low line there, 6 and 7.
The same deal for her as for the Brazilians. And Andrea Greco, get it down. Don't be fancy, don't get greedy.
This is women against the mountain. I used to say man against the mountain. Get to the bottom, say, okay, oh, watch out here. She's like, boy, you saw her just, what do they call that?
Robin Hooding.
Robin Hooding there. She knew she was late.
Yeah, save it. And a good exit off Thunderbird. Didn't have a whole lot of speed, but she's down. 54.33 behind Christine Debryn and Alicia Rissling. She's in 7th spot. As we are now getting on for halfway through our field. That should see her in the race. There are 3 sleds behind her. 23 starters, 20 go through. She's in the second heat, but ooh, it was high.
High there, then she taps the take on, and then she goes in the middle of the curve and has to steer off. But here, watch her tap here. Now this throws her in the middle of the next curve, which is the 50-50, and then watch the rudder tips. Look at this. She is, as you say, Robin Hood. Yeah. If you know what
full
that means.
Steering lock.
Robin Hood with an arrow.
One arm all the way forward, one all the way back, ripping it off the corner. It is Kaillie Humphries who leads from Alana Myers and Mariama Yamanka. First 10 sleds down here in Whistler. 10 down, 13 to go. Next up is our World Cup champion, Jamie Grubel-Poser. Winner in Park City last week. Asia Evans on the back of the sled has not raced in Whistler. So this is going to be a bit of an eye-opener for her, because this is definitely going to feel quicker than it did in training, because it is quicker than it was in training.
Asia Evans and Jamie Grubel won the bronze medal in Sochi. And Jamie Grubel-Poser won the Olympic gold medal, or the gold medal last week in Park City.
For all the height she's got, Asia Evans gets into the sled. It looks like she fell through a trapdoor in the floor. You never see her again until they finish.
Let's see if she's 300s, only 300s ahead now.
Hey, listen, if you're 300s up on Kaillie Humphries anywhere on a trip down this track, you're doing all right.
Yeah, sloppy there.
Yeah.
Watch the head snap there. Can she be quiet? That's
nice exit.
Very nice. Much better than her teammate.
In with a shot.
She's going to have to find some fast line here in the bottom.
Well, the BMW sled produces speed.
That's very quiet there. Very good there. See if she can get the speed here in Thunderbird. This looks like a second place run, though.
This is a really nice looking run. Alana Myers-Taylor 3,700 back. Jamie Grubel-Poser 1,500. Splits the top 2 in half. She's in second place.
Kilometer down in speed to Humphries, 0.6 of a mile an hour. A couple mistakes up top where Humphries doesn't make mistakes. That's why she's two-time Olympic champion, and she's on her home track. She's pretty difficult to beat here.
Bronze last year for Jamie, silver the year before.
Here, a little tap there. Top speed comparison. Humphries, 1.5 kilometers better in the Thunderbird section.
Yeah, perhaps not a surprise when you see that she's 1500s up at the bottom of the track. There's Jamie Grubel-Poser, second spot. Canada, USA, USA. That's your top three. Oh, here's a US sled. This is Brittany Reinboldt with Lauren Gibbs behind her. Won last week with Jamie Grubel-Poser in Park City.
We'll give up 15 or 16 probably to start. 15, there's 15. She get out of curve one, okay? Nope. Mistake. Throws away. Pretty good start time. Fourth best start. Now let's see if she taps there. Now she's at 4, 5, 6.
You think the North American sleds would have loads of experience here. They know Calgary much better than they know this place.
A lot of banging.
Yep.
This looks like
not the tidiest run from Brittany Reinboldt, but at the moment in fourth place ahead of Mariama Jovanka on the splits.
Lost a lot of time. 6 to 9.
But this is still neat and tidy. She's not going to be on the heels of Jamie Grubel-Poser, but at the line, she does slide down to 7th.
Just in between the two Canadian sleds, Riesling and Debryn.
Fourth almost all the way down, and then it got away from her in the Gold Rush Trail. Again, first heat, don't get greedy here. 50-50 has a name for a very good reason.
Right here, to watch her tap over on the right side of our screen. Look at the skid. She taps there, and look at the skidding. You see that? She had to correct to get in, and then had a skid twice. Luter's loop here flops off there, so she's still late. And so when you make a mistake up there, like curve 3 or 4, it takes you almost 4 or 5 corners later before you can get things back under control.
They're all interconnected. We've got Germany's Mariama Jovanka currently lying in 4th place. Anna Koehler in 9th. This is Stephanie Schneider. Now, Schneider, winner on this track in the year after the Games, pushing Sandra Kyriasis. What can she do here as a driver?
Well, she didn't do very good here last year, tipping over a few times, breaking a collarbone. She's missed the rest of the North American Tour. And then back in Wittenberg, Germany, we got back there. She crashed again, and she was on injured reserve until we saw her at the World Championships. But the Germans have a lot of hope for her. She did pretty good. She won a medal in Lake Placid.
Yeah, 3rd and 4th in her first 2 races of the season. So Stephanie Schneider, whoa, is actually the best ranked of the German athletes at the moment.
But she gets away with it. High. Saw the transition, wasn't quiet.
Oh, and a huge height.
She's just not steering, which is they're telling her to do that, and she better steer more of that curve, because, you know, give her credit. I mean, this hammer thrower with a hurdler on the back.
I think she might have thrown this one down the track. 5th place. Well, wild, and she got away with 2 or 3 very close shaves there.
Well, let's go back to the women's skeleton this morning.
Yeah.
Jacqueline Lowling had the worst start in the field, hit everything in sight, and won the event.
But Anne Kristenstrack in the back, she must have thought at least 3 times they were over. And if Stephanie Schneider knew she had it, then, boy, she's got some nerve.
Watch this.
Exit 6.
Not quiet. No, she's a couple times she's got to adjust there to get into 6, 7. This isn't too bad, but watch the head snap here. That's not a quiet transition. And then here's where some more Robin Hood's going on, and she is really late, almost on the bunks.
Well, Bruce Tasker crashed into 14 off an exit of 13 like that, but with much less weight and lower down in the sled. The girls there survived by the skin of their teeth. Next up, 24-year-old junior world champion Misha Mcneill and Mika Moore, her brakewoman, who turned 25 yesterday, so happy birthday to her. Misha Mcneill, the reigning queen of Happy Meal sports. Yep, they get bored on tour sometimes.
So the self-funded team. Of course, Great Britain winning those medals last week, and that medal in the four-man last week. 2 sleds in the top 6. Great for the British program.
The girls are getting part funding from UK Sport, part from themselves. 8th place in the opening race in Lake Placid. Slightly off the boil, 13th in Park City. Don't think Misha was very happy with that, but this is a tidier looking run, 9th fastest start.
Good, watch the heads with a quiet exit. Not really.
Little late off 7, not bad into 9 though. 5th place on the splits. This is exactly what she needs.
Pretty good at training.
Oh!
How did that sled not go over?
Again, tiny athlete.
She's still flying though.
She is flying.
Top 4, this is a great run.
What a run from Misha Mcneill. Hold it together to the line and she could threaten for the medals. 3rd place run ahead of the world champion, ahead of the year. You will take that win. That's generous of him. Lee Johnson, I'll take that.
You know, we've seen some rough rides come down the track at Skeleton and Bobsled so far today. It seems like, you know, she wasn't steering, just like the German girl who just came down.
Well,
Schneider.
listen, they don't pack much height, they don't pack much weight, so there's room for some luck in that sled.
Well, just take a look. Is this a rough transition?
Yep. That may be the latest we've seen of 7.
But she corrects very nice. She didn't get penalized there. Here she's way late in the curve. The sled's on 2 runners. It's on the bunks.
It's still going up as the corner is finishing.
She did
got
not
away
steer.
with that. Look at the smiles. That's the nervous smile. Okay, that was a scary trip. Alexandra Rodionova of Russia up next. 10th and 14th in the opening 2 races for the former luge slider, with Anastasia Kotsetsova behind her. One of the younger athletes in the Russian team.
She's also the tallest athlete in the competition. She's about 6'3". Rodionova comes from luge, transferred over after the Sochi Games.
The Russian men had lots of speed at the bottom of this track. Let's see if the girls have the same.
Her teammate Sergeyeva is coming up pretty quick.
Yep.
She was really good at training.
Yeah, Rodionova doesn't quite have the start. I'm not entirely sure she's making an awful lot of progress with the driving. 5:21 getaway, 7th fastest.
Skid out of 1. Again, just watch the transitions. If you don't see those heads going back and forth on the transition, you need this quiet exit, which is good. Nice there. Not bad. Quiet.
Decent exit off 7. She gets into 9 nicely.
10's down. She's doing pretty good.
1900s away. 7th at the start. She's up to 5th. 200ths of a second slower at the start than the Brits, who lie in 3rd, and she's been just as reckless with the pace. She's up to 4th place.
Is the track getting faster?
Oh, I think it's icing and getting colder and harder, and at the line. All right, well, it all went away right at the end of the run there, but for a moment.
Where she was in the first 2 races of the season, that's not bad.
Yeah, she was 10th and 14th. She's currently lying 8th with most of the quick sleds already down. Her teammate, Nadezhda Sergeyeva, habitually the quicker of the 2, is just slightly trailing her. She was a spot behind in each of the races.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
Boy, she came out too early. You tap going to that take-on like that. Watch her tap the right-hand wall, on our side, and then in the middle of the 50-50 curve, and then you have to adjust. And when you see the sled split like that, the articulation is maxed out, and that's when you're on the edge. But boy, we've seen on the edge is fast.
And scary. Nadezhda Sergeyeva of Russia with Yulia Shokshueva behind her. Crashed last week.
Crashed in training this week, I think.
And let's see what they can produce. She's been behind her teammate in the opening 2 races, and she would like to reverse that trend at the very least. 5:19, that's a good start.
She had a 4th last year in Winterberg, her top finish. 6th was the Olympic track for the pre-Olympic test and playing Chunks Rio. And these are quiet steer lines right here. Let's watch. Need to be quiet up here.
5th in the overall World Cup rankings with a slew of top 6 finishes.
Pretty good there.
And she was 5th here last year. She can do it.
This is pretty good right now.
Yeah, 4th place on the splits off the 6th fastest start. She could be ahead of the Brits.
Nice lines there.
Getting close.
Really a little hard.
Letting it fly. 4th place on the splits. Drifting away a little. Top 6 at the line ahead of Yamanka.
Get there.
And And seventh, well, she's ahead of her teammate by 2 spots, just behind Yamanka and Schneider of Germany.
Close that, yeah, the 48, 52, 54, 56, 59, so middle part of the lineup, 5th to 9th, separated by about 800.
Yeah, outside the top 4, it's very close. That was a
pretty good drive down the track, though. Didn't have the speed like we saw. Look, out of breath.
And if I was a coach, I'd have a grey hairs watching this.
This little flop here, not too bad. This is the 6 to 7, the pivotal. You can't say any part's pivotal part of the track. The whole track, every place, every exit is pivotal.
You can't take a single corner for granted, can you?
There's nothing.
Not one.
There. I mean, there's
no gimmies, even the run into the first corner.
It's such a safe track when it's at this speed. When it gets a little bit, I mean, so what are they going?
Rip that
92
off,
miles an hour, Humphries was going?
Rip that off 13. Here we go then with Kim Yoran, 25-year-old Korean. This is only her 4th ever World Cup start. Her debut was last year on this track. She did the 2 North American races and then Pyeongchang. And on her World Cup debut, she finished in 9th spot.
Brakeman in and down quickly. And of course, it's a lot easier for the female athletes to get in behind those drivers and a good aerodynamic pose than somebody like Ryan Bailey in the United States, who's like 6'3", 240 pounds.
And some of the men are at 2/3 as wide as the women are tall.
Now, the women's sleds are lighter, but they're the same height and width and length.
And you see inside, a lot of them have padding on the inside because the shoulders are narrower and the driver can't stay firmly in the seat.
And there's a little bit of ricochet rabbit in those sleds.
Okay, up to 12th on the splits. Don't forget 9th here last year on her debut, and she's gone. Oh, we've seen the last 3 or 4 sleds really in danger there, and she is the first one that goes over.
She'll get to the finish line, you know.
She will, but she won't have enough speed on board to make the cut, I don't think. 17th at the line out of 17 sleds.
You know, her line into the 50-50 Holcomb curve was not that bad, as we've seen other sleds. She tapped a little bit on the way in. Look at them both get up. The medical staff here is such a fantastic job. I mean, make them relax.
Yeah.
And look how steep that uphill is. I mean, you look, to walk down there is...
But walking down's one thing. Walking back up, you know all about that hill.
So, you know, this isn't bad. We've seen worse lines. She taps a little bit here.
Oh, look at that.
And now she's way up into the middle of the curve.
And then...
Watch this. Bang.
Gets out of 12.
That's not too bad,
hits
but
into
here,
13.
Watch the sparks here.
Up.
That's just... How can they get... Oh, they're almost
back runners off the track.
Whoa, there's some fire and ice there. Wow.
Oof. Doesn't make pretty viewing. Well, the medical center is right down there underneath the timing tower, and so they'll be taken in and given thorough check over.
There's just no forgiveness down there. I mean, we've seen a lot of people get through there. We should have been over worse lines than that.
Well, they're both out of the sled. Yuran Kim, the driver, on the left of your shots, and with the headbands, that's Myun-seong Kim, her brakewoman. Yeah, just catch your breath and get your bearings, because that is a tumble dry you don't want to ride. Ivo Danilevich down there with the bag. You saw the back of him walking down the track to go and get the girls.
Well,
the corner's done.
There's nothing she could do getting in that late, but those are pretty compelling pictures.
Yeah.
That really is the persona of this track, that 50-50 curve that the late Steve Holcomb gave the name to in 2009. And it's so appropriate they have the logo, his logo in the curve.
And in fact, the track have renamed it in his honor. It was officially named after he stuck up a cardboard sign, didn't he, in training for the Olympic Games. It's now been renamed Holke's 50-50. A nice little touch from the Whistler Sliding Center. Track hold as they check out the crew, rescue the sled, and then they'll check the ice. There's been 2 crashes so far today. Bruce Tasker, the final of 27 sled in the opening heat of the men's competition.
6 sleds to go. Yep. Of course, we're getting down to the, the 7th. So,
well, now Andrea Grecu will make the race. She's 3 from the end. So Suzanne Pace and Asazu for Brazil and Japan are penultimate and anti-penultimate. Kim is 17th and last at the moment, but 4 seconds off. There's going to have to be 3 other crashes for her to make the race.
I believe the Belgians fled, then Riehaus, and then Lee. I don't know.
Well, Constantine Romania, Hafner should make it. Oshigiri could make it. Christina Hengster definitely could. Well, there's Sophie Verkrijsen, and with the helmet on, Anne van Nieuwenhuizen. And they are getting ready to go for Belgium. Great day for Kim Meilmans in the women's skeleton race for Belgium.
She might still be sitting up there.
And you know what? She probably is still sitting there grinning.
20 minutes after, 25 minutes after we're on the award ceremony, she was just sitting near the weight scale all by herself, just shaking her head. Last year in this race, she crashed. Yeah, so the crash here ruined her season. This year, best ever World Cup result. Top 5. Yeah. Great for her. Great for Belgium. And talk about Belgium. Here's a second Belgium #2 of the Belgian Bullets. They launched their Olympic campaign here in Vancouver, Winter Olympics in 2010, when about 2006 somebody came up with a crazy idea, much like the Jamaican bobsled team, that we're going to put some girls in the women's bobsled program, and they did a reality program. We first saw them in Lake Placid in 2008. There was a couple of camera crews following them around, and huge ratings in Belgium, and not only did they compete, finish, they did pretty well, top 6 at the Winter Olympics in 2014 in Sochi.
And that kind of exposure, they are still, you know, it's still a household name sport in Belgium, and so they attract sponsors, they attract backing, and they attract an awful lot of attention in their homeland. Well, a little bit of a delay here. It is currently 3:45 a.m. Central European time, so anyone who's watching now at home in Belgium live, well done. They are very, very late to bed. Anne van Nieuwenhuizen and Sophie Verkrijsen, her brakewoman.
They weren't here last year, remember? They didn't come to North America, so
she was saving a bit of budget.
So happy to be back in North America, she said in Lake Placid.
16th in Placid, 12th in Park City last weekend.
Now, watch, you know, she's only 5 foot, but watch her, she gets in and gets down. Her eyes are barely over the cowling.
Well, you know, that's exactly what you want. Sandra Kyriasis wasn't quite as short as some of these drivers, but her eyes were barely ever visible above the cowling.
No skid there, so deficient start. 15th best start. Sled so far. Yes, she can drive. 14th spot on the sprints at the moment. Little late off 6 and 3 or 4 mistakes there. Watch out!
Oh, and she's gone. Well, she was waving all over the place going into 7, and that is
come back up if they're lucky.
It's a long, ugly ride down, whichever way it goes.
So what the head? She's got to get her head in.
That's Anne. She's got to try and pull herself back in the cow, but there's nothing to hold on to. In fact, that's not. That's Sophie in the back trying to cling on desperately. They hold on by their fingertips to 2 tiny little bent metal handles on the floor of the sled. And the rescue workers are there with the hooks to grab the sled.
She gets across the finish line.
She
at least gets a result, gets points.
Yep.
You know, that's at least some, you know, negative to a positive. But, you know, she made the mistake up there.
The girls calling to each other, are you okay, you okay? Well, they are both moving, both conscious, both out.
How could they just went down?
Yeah. Well, she got late off
45, 50 seconds upside down and just stands up and, you know.
Got late off 6 and it was very, very wavy. Had 2 or 3 attempts at getting it into 7, and in the end, all of that time going into 7 cost them on the exit.
She was sitting there apologizing to her brakeman because
a lot of the drivers talk about that here at Altenburg. You know, the responsibility
she's too early down, comes over and taps this wall here. Watch these pictures here.
Skid, 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 skid.
And then just climbs, comes back down, centrifugal force. You're forced to go back up in the outlet, and no, it's in no.
Almost came back, and then 8. She was already over, and that's a long way down.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, that's why a lot of the athletes on other tracks will just wear their Lycra here. Very frequently, they'll be wearing a Burns vest underneath, a Kevlar weave vest, because a trip like that down the ice, it's not cold. You may as well be on tarmac. It will rip the skin off you. It will burn you through the suit. Well, they had a crash in training as well. There you go. See, those are the scabbards. Those are used to carry the sleds around. The runners go into those little grooves. The sled sits on top. It'll be winched out here onto the deck and into the scabbards. Well,
no, they have a chance to go for the second run. You know, we'll see both sleds. You know,
well, if they make it, they make it into the top 20, well,
they won't make it. Well,
that's making it.
The last two sleds down of.
Yeah, I know. It's making it more likely that some of our other athletes will get through into the top 20, because two are very unlikely to now, and the Belgians and the Koreans. Now the track workers are going to take another look at the track. What you don't want is big gouges that take the steering away from the driver. This track is fast enough and has enough boogeymen hiding that you don't want big gouges in the ice taking control away from the driver. Now you see some of the fast transitions here. That's the exit of 9. There's the into 9. I'm going to see a very similar.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Similar weight at the top of the track now for Seong-Hae Lee of Korea and her brakewoman Yoonji Jeon. Well, like her teammate Yuran Kim, this is only the 4th ever World Cup start for Seong-Hae Lee. Her first, like Yuran's, came in the season opener in Whistler here last year. Yuran was 9th, she was 10th. And also raced in Lake Placid and Pyeongchang. So 3 World Cup starts to her tally.
2 minutes to start. 2 minutes to
you know,
2 minutes.
The nerves of seeing somebody crash are one thing. The nerves of seeing 2 in a row are one thing. But when your teammate was the first of those, then it just kind of adds that extra little bit of nervous tension.
The Whistler Sliding Center. It's a spectacular facility. There's just no room for error on this high-speed track. And the Belgian team did not tip over in the high-speed section. They were in, 60 mile an hour, 50 mile an hours.
Medium to high. Medium to high speed. So sled on the ice, and as they get the start of the 60-second timer for their starting period, the sled will be lifted up and put down into the grooves on its runners. The reason it's not down there all the time is so the runners don't get colder. They have to be within a certain temperature of a control runner, which is in the shelter up at the start. So you don't have heated runners. Heated runners would melt a micro layer of ice faster than non-heated runners and reduce the friction. That's why heated runners were a thing.
Yeah, the Stevens
before the
brothers,
rules.
Stevens brothers in 1932 Lake Placid they were behind by 6 seconds at the end of the first run. They took a blowtorch out, heated the runners up, went on to win the Olympic gold medal. Next summer in 1932, the IBT then made a rule that you can't hit your runners.
And that's when they were racing pretty much in snow.
Yeah.
So yeah, imagine on a polished ice surface like this.
There's been a few hot runner situations in the last decade here too, still in this sport. So.
Yeah.
Come on, girls, let's go.
So second track hold in succession, and we are now ready to go with the 19th of our sleds, Seong-Hae Lee and Yoonji Jeon for Korea.
Well, just saw them last week in Park City. Did not see them in Lake Placid. They said that the Korean women's team would stay on tour on the North America's Cup. They stay there.
Yeah, they need more time on the ice, don't they?
But they came right out to Park City last week, and the first time we saw them.
Well, both Korean sleds raced in the North American races last year and then only went to Pyeongchang, and that would appear to be the way it's going to go this season as well.
Down here,
well, she needs to not be nervous and just get it down safe. I've seen a couple of rookies make it down without any dramas, or with few dramas.
Clean. This is not about placing and timing. This is getting to the bottom, getting your points.
Well, she's 15th by being neat and tidy and clean, and she gets it down safe in one piece.
So she's going to make it into the...
Yeah. And she's
4
ahead.
sleds to go, so she's in.
She's ahead of Heather Pace, rather, from Brazil, and Konomi Osazu of Japan, ahead of Kim and Van Nieuwenhuizen.
Pretty quiet. You know, very quiet steering. This is in the, I can't say pivotal part of the track. The whole track's pivotal.
Well, she rotates
Look
it.
how happy they are.
Rotates it the wrong way into 9, but she didn't play fast and loose with the track. She really concentrated on getting it down. And that's what Ivo Danilevic will have been saying to her. Get it down. So Maria Constantin of Romanian, the 24-year-old with her brakewoman, 21-year-old in her 3rd ever bobsleigh race.
She's the junior world champion triple jumper.
Yeah.
That's what we're hearing.
That's right. Long jump and triple jump, I think. Yeah, quite some athlete with the ex-swimmer, Maria Constantin.
This is as good a driver as you can have. Just gives up so much time at the start.
5-3-0 getaway. Seen the Koreans just come down into 15th place off a slower start. Teammate Andrea Greco is in 14th, but she's got the ability, Maria Constantin, to be in the top 10 here.
She drives forward ahead to some of the competitions. Very accomplished pilot. Quiet. As you saw the head snap back and forth, and that caused the skidding into 9. Ooh, high there. Watch out. Get away with it.
Well, teammate Andrea Greco in an ex-Andre Lange FES sled. This is a BTC, one of the more familiar customer sleds, and she comes across the line in 13th place. So she's behind Christine Debryn, ahead of Anna Kohler of Germany and Andrea Greco, her teammate. So she's in the race. And we now have 20 sleds started. The bottom 3 are Anne van Nieuwenhuizen of Belgium, Kim of Korea, and Osazu of Japan.
3 to go. Look at the skid here. This is because of the transition off of Luder's Loop. Down here at 50-50. She taps before she gets in. She comes in late, doesn't panic though, and nothing like the lines we saw from the Korean sled.
She knew what to do there. Get it off, get it safe. Well, 3 to go. And with 20 sleds down, the race is full. Kaillie Humphries leads Jamie Grubel, Poser and Misha Mcneill. And all the interest now focusing on the bottom 3 sleds. Sabine Hafner of Switzerland. Evelyn Rebsamen is in behind her. Twin sister Rahel started last week in Park City. Evelyn started in Lake Placid.
Sabina was here in the 2010 Olympic Games. She's familiar with the track. Took 4.
1 Swiss medal on this track in women's bobsleigh, and that was Fabienne Meyer. She took the silver behind Kaillie Humphries 3 years ago. In fact, it was 4 seasons ago, but 3 races ago. 2700s off the lead, 13th at the start, still in 13th place. Oh, bumpy there, you could hear the bangs and the bashes.
Go with the firecracker.
Now, she doesn't have much of a start, but she does have driving skills.
You know, look how quiet she is down here. Oh, the brakeman's head just came up.
Up to 12th place. Evelyn Rebsamen trying to hang on. A few more corners to go. Okay, now you'll hear brake, brake, brake. Yeah, there go the brakes digging into the ice eventually. She flies through the top of the track. And 12th place for Sabine Hafner, and that she's 15th and 17th in the opening 2 races. That's going in the right direction for Hafner.
Started making her comeback last year. 5 years away, going to electrical engineering school, which quiet on the exit. Not bad, not perfect. And rides the left-hand wall down. Has a great entry into that drop-off of the exit of 9, entrance of 9, and then down here in the 11-12 section of the track, which is just treacherous.
There's the experience, there's the knowledge, gets her down safely. 2 to go, and we've already lost Anne van Nieuwenhuizen. Now Maria Oshigiri, trouble in training, crashed early in the season as well. And let's see if she can get herself down safely.
7th place in the World Championships last year was one of the better stories, because it was the best Japanese finish ever in the World Championships, in men or women.
Crashed in training last week in Park City with her current brakewoman Arisha Kimishima in the sled. She was subbed out at the last minute with Moriko Morimoto taking her place for the race.
Morimoto is the sprinter.
Yep.
Gives pretty good starts. Oshigiri, 17th best start. Hans Wimmer, their coach, says very worried about them this week here. They got a couple crashes.
Well, she's keeping it neat and tidy, and that's the secret again. We've seen it before. Don't get greedy.
Real low there.
Try.
Got to climb it.
Oh, she's got. Oh, how did she get that away?
Too much steering. Watch, she's still not over here. Oh, real low there on the entrance to a 9, 10, 11 curve. We saw a real low one curve and shot her up to the middle.
Holy moly. She ducks ahead at the line to finish 14th. How did she not finish on her head there? I want to see that a couple of times, because that was over and then it wasn't.
Shot into the 11 so late. They call 11 the shiver curve.
Yeah, well, it gives us shivers. Yeah, I think it makes the athletes do something else that starts with a sh. Oh, again, the Japanese girls sort of calling and laughing as they get down safely, because, boy, that was close. And in the back seat, Arisa Kimishima, with her back to us, felt that. Look.
How does that? Oh. Her mistake was made in the corner above. Here, she's still late. Taps before she gets into 50-50, but makes it look at the high.
Yeah.
Then she taps there in the crossover. 12 to 13 to 50-50 curve.
The violence of that first exit, though, she's going to have a sore neck for days. Luckily, a week off to recover.
Look at Hans Wimmer.
But they're in, Hans. They are in the race. And Kim of Korea and Van Nieuwenhuizen of Belgium are not. And Asazu of Japan is on the bubble with 1 to go. Christina Hengster, what a rough start to the season the Austrian has had. Valerie Kleiser behind her, in for Sanne Decker, who was pushing in training. 2 years ago, Hengster and Decker were bronze. Last year, they were silver. Today, they're last off.
Well, the crash in Lake Placid, then a mistake there, and then a crash last heat of training yesterday. So, Christina, we're just hoping to get to the bottom here, because if she gets to the bottom, she'll be in the field.
She had a 10th place finish in Park City, but this is definitely not Park City. 14th at the start, 16th on the split times. Needs to beat Kanomi Asazu of Japan. She's up to 13th. Little straightener off the wall in 8 into 9.
Her problem's down in the 50-50 curve, the Holcomb curve.
All right, under control now. There we go. That's looking good.
Put her in the field, and she'll have one more trip before she looks forward to getting on the airplane and getting Whistler in North America in a rear view mirror.
Good run to the line, 13th place, 53.92 slides. She gets down in one piece. Sigh of relief on the right from Manny Meyer, the coach. That's Josef Hoffman on the left. Christina Hengster and Valerie Kleiser get down in one piece. Sanne Decker, after being bounced on her head yesterday, not starting today's race. Well, no point breaking athletes if you don't want to. Here was about as close as she got.
It was pretty controlled there. A little split here in the articulation. Not too bad. Pretty not quiet, but better than what she did yesterday in the last heat of training.
Got a smile on her face as she gets it down in one piece. 13th place, and our field is full. Yeah, well done, boss. So at the top of the pile is a 5-time winner on this track. Since 2011, Kaillie Humphries has not lost. She's won 4 straight of 5 races. Here, she won her first Olympic gold medal. 2 seasons before that run started in 2010. So this track holds many happy memories for Kaillie, and she leads our field after the first of 2 adventurous heats here. 1500s back to second place, 3300s back to third place. Jamie Grubel-Poser, winner last time out in Park City, versus Kaillie Humphries, winner of the opening race, the Olympic Games and everything else here.
Misha Mcneill.
And Misha Mcneill in third place. Well, this could be, for British bobsledding, as big a day as last Saturday was in Park City in the double 4-man race. Let's see what happens in the second heat. Our field is full. We go all the way down the top 20, and after that, which is Heather Pace of Brazil, who does get a second run, Asazu of Japan, Kim of Korea, and Van Nieuwenhuizen of Belgium. The last 2 were crashes, and they do not get into the final heat. 1 run left to go in the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Swing of North America. Join us as the sleds are back on ice in 27 minutes here, 7:30 Pacific time. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, the IBSF TV crew for all the action here in Whistler.